Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Louise Huber begins now.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. First tonight, the state government has admitted improvements need to be made to its COVID control processes after a Sydney man was able to fly home before receiving his test results. It comes as Tasmanians wait anxiously, with contact tracing and testing continuing to determine if the virus has spread in the community.
The words all Tasmanians were waiting and hoping for.
They have all been returned negative.
More than 1,600 tests have been carried out since the positive case was detected yesterday. The 31-year-old man travelled from Sydney to Launceston via Melbourne on Monday, despite not being approved to enter the state. He was then taken straight to the Seaport Hotel to quarantine.
There were no direct flights available to Sydney for 2 days, which is why he was placed into our hotel quarantine.
I think the protocols have been really good and we follow them to the letter of the law.
He was tested on the Tuesday before flying back to Sydney on Wednesday before his result came back.
It beggars belief that this individual would enter our quarantine facility, be tested and then take that opportunity to leave. But in future, that will not be able to occur.
10 airport staff had to isolate as a result.
When there are any of these events or suspected events, we always implement immediately enhanced cleaning.
Authorities have been working to contact around 100 people who were on the same flight from Melbourne to Launceston. A Scotch Oakburn Year 12 student was among them. He'll remain in isolation for 14 days despite his negative test. Around 70 other boarders were identified as close contacts and had to isolate overnight, but have now been released.
We're all a little bit anxious and hoping for the positive result that we're expecting and that the health department was sure that it would be, but it's always good to get the actual result.
But Public Health concedes quarantine and border arrival controls need to be strengthened and will be reviewing processes.
Of course, we've learned from our experience in the last day or so, and I think that the processes that we had in place up until now have been reasonable, but I think this is an example of how Delta can catch you out.
Masks are now mandatory in all hospitals and nursing homes across the state. And in some good news, a date has been set for Tasmanian pharmacies to play a part in the vaccine rollout. 11 chemists will begin providing jabs on August 16.
And the remaining pharmacies who have expressed interest in the program, and there is up to 105 pharmacies in Tasmania that have expressed interest, are likely to commence during September and October.
Another shot in the arm in our fight against an ever-growing enemy. Letitia Wallace, 7 Tasmania News.
It's not only footy fans left disappointed by the cancellation of this weekend's historic Hawthorn Collingwood clash. Businesses are also counting the cost, with the potential of huge trading days now lost.
Just across the road from UTAS Stadium, it's the place to be on game day.
Any event that we have on UTAS Stadium is massive for us. It's big, very, very big. It probably triples or more than that our trade.
But this Sunday, the Park Hotel will be far from packed. Management crushed by the cancellation of the Hawthorn and Collingwood match.
The Essendon match was a prime example. It was our biggest ever trade, and this was looking to be just as equal as that.
They'd ordered extra food and drink, now set to go to waste.
In costs, it could be anywhere up to $5,000+ in wastage.
Normally on a Friday, we are flat out. No time to stand around and chat.
Merchandise stores say when the footy's in town, they kick goals too.
Guernseys, hoodies, beanies is the most popular, of course, and scarves because it's cold. And we were selling face masks.
After the game was announced on short notice, they'd paid for extra Collingwood gear to be shipped express.
At least hopefully they won't change their logo so we can sell it next year.
The Premier today reiterated his belief the right call was made, despite the cost.
It was important to ensure that we could attract people from across the state to fill beds around those grounds when the games are being played. So I can understand their disappointment.
A decision is yet to be made on the Western Bulldogs' trip to Launceston next weekend. Businesses are hoping this time they get a little more notice. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
Residents in a West Hobart street have described the terrifying moment shots were fired into a neighbouring home. Police believe the attack was targeted and are still searching for the gunman.
On a quiet street at dinner time, shots were fired into this suburban Hill Street home. The incident occurred just before 6:30, alerting nearby residents.
I heard out from outside my window a man yelling, have you got a gun? The police are on their way. So we all went to the back of the house. We were pretty nervous.
Police say the offender threatened a 38-year-old man who lived at the property before firing up to 3 shots into the front of the house and fleeing towards Warwick Street. Luckily, no one was injured. Police say the same home was targeted just 2 months earlier, but it's unclear if the same suspect was involved.
It occurred at a residence that was also subject to police attendance on the 4th of June in relation to an assault. We believe both incidents are targeted.
Residents reported hearing a loud car leaving the area shortly after the shooting, but police say a person was also spotted on a bike at the same time. They're urging anyone with information to come forward.
Police would like to speak to anyone who was in the area around the time and witnessed any suspicious activity, has dash cam footage or surveillance footage to provide it to us.
Police are still searching for the offender who was wearing dark clothing at the time. Ainsley Kosh, 7 Tasmania News.
The state's struggling seafood industry, hit hard by the pandemic, has been thrown a lifeline. $700,000 worth of government grants are on offer to help seafood processors target new markets.
We're back down again now with New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland and other parts of the world which we trade seafood to, all going in and out of lockdowns, and that has a significant impact on orders and demand for seafood.
It's hoped the money will encourage the sector to come up with new ways of increasing the shelf life of Tasmanian products. Around 70% of Tasmanians support the aquaculture sector, according to a poll commissioned by the State Salmonoid Growers Association.
Is supportive of the industry. We do recognise we have a responsibility to keep people informed as to what we're doing.
The poll also found 18 to 34-year-olds were least likely to support salmon farming, while northwest residents were more in favour compared with their southern counterparts. 1,000 Tasmanians were surveyed between May and June. The town of St Mary's will now be without a local bank after the closure of the Commonwealth branch. Concerns are growing that small communities will increasingly have to survive without key services.
It's the last day of trading at the Commonwealth Bank branch in St Mary's. Jim Turner has been a customer with them all his life.
We're going to miss this bank.
The town of 700 is now left without a bank after discussions with Bendigo Bank about opening a new branch in the town didn't pay off.
Everybody's disappointed. You know, there's nobody who's going to be happy about it.
The only face-to-face option in town is Australia Post's limited banking services, which some businesses say won't be enough.
Inconvenient. They'll have to close to do banking to go over the coast. Because as you can see, I can't afford to have staff. It's only a little one-man show.
It's deeply disappointing, particularly for smaller businesses, the elderly, people with disabilities. It's challenging indeed.
CBA customers here now have a 40-minute drive to St Helens. However, that's one of several branches around Tasmania where hours are being shortened. Federal member for Lions, Brian Mitchell, says regional communities are being hollowed out as key services are stripped from them.
What we need is a commitment from corporate Australia, a commitment from government to support regional towns and regional communities.
Locals don't want to think about what would happen if business leaves them behind.
I think it's going to die. I really do. Yeah.
Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
A program providing free showers and washing machines for rough sleepers is expanding its Tasmanian footprint. Orange Sky's mobile van will visit Kingston's neighbourhood house every Friday. They'll also provide a space for people to have a chat about their situation.
Promote connection within the community, so to reduce the isolation. That really is more important to us than the washing.
Relates to a lot of things: how you present in public, how you feel about yourself, your chances for employment, how you view yourself and how your family and others might view you.
Orange Sky currently runs 10 shifts a week across Hobart. The latest additions to Australia's Antarctic fleet have been delivered to their Kingston base today. More than 25 sleds have been constructed, with each one designed to endure the tough conditions. Carrying up to 37 tonnes, they will be used to transport containers across the continent. Tribunna-based Elphinstone Engineering responsible for the build.
I think it's worked very well from our side, it has, and I hope for the AAD it's been good as well.
It's the biggest order Elphinstone has delivered for the Antarctic mission.
They might be raging premiership favourite, but Launceston's Jake Hines says he still feels the nerves before every game. The Blues face a struggling Glenorchy at home this week. Hines, who has signed a one-year deal, says the squad is pushing each other.
Lightly, you don't think it's just going to happen, so still put that pressure on ourselves to do things that we know we have to do it that way.
Meanwhile, the Tigers will face Clarence in the match of the round. Their coach says they're motivated by the chance of a home final.
We'd love to play at the Twin Ovals, but we've just got to come and get the job done on Saturday and then just see what happens in the last 2 weeks of the season.
The match kicks off at Blunston tomorrow afternoon. And the Collingwood Hawthorn game in Tassie has been given the boot, but never fear, Pies fans. Tonight's Friday flashback is all about the famous club. Collingwood has made many a visit to Tasmania, including one time when the Pies fielded their finest players against a local league. Black and white caps were part of the uniform when Collingwood first came to Tasmania in 1902. Vintage photos captured a visit in 1937, a game against Geelong at Devonport Oval. But Tasmania's true test came in 1986. The might of the Magpies faced the NTFA. And this was no B team. The Pies brought their best.
Williams reads the ball very well, hand passes to Shaw. Shaw receives the hand pass, brushes off the tackle, kicks with the left foot from only about 20 metres out from goal and puts another one through for Collingwood.
I'm not a Collingwood supporter, but it's still good to run out against them and have a bit of fun.
Jeff Skeds played that day for the local league. He claims to have taken a screamer over Mark Williams' head, but mysteriously he can't find the photo.
I was sitting on his shoulders back in the back line and chasing him most of the day.
The NTFA managed to put some goals on the board, but the local side was smashed by more than 100 points.
Morwood runs in from centre half forward, kicks long, right up towards the full forward line. Off the hands of the pack. Is it through? Yes, it is.
How's this for an image? Lee Matthews in the West Park change rooms, Spicer's Paper as sponsor, and an enormous crowd to see Collingwood and St Kilda in Burnie 3 years later. And listen to some of the names on the park.
Bob Jones wins in the ruck, but it's taken by Dacos. Twists and turns, gets around three players, goes with a drop punt towards full forward. Taylor and Frawley. Frawley punches the ball away from behind. This gives Barwick the chance. Barwick goes for goal. He screwed it back over his shoulder.
Viewers got their money's worth. The Pies snatching victory in the final seconds of the game.
Oh, he's kicked it. The crowd's gone wild. Collingwood have hit the front.
Then in 93, it was Launceston's turn. 13,000 streamed through the gates to watch the likes of Mickey McGuan and Tony Lockett go toe-to-toe. The 1,300 goal champion would bring the crowd to its feet. At the other end, fans climbed into York Park's original grandstand, the Trees. Again, the game was a thriller. South Launceston's David Grant had a chance to win it with the final kick of the day. But it went astray, Collingwood home by 2 points. Thousands poured onto the ground. Then the herd poured into town, leaving behind a huge clean-up, but many memories from a golden run of visits from the Pies. And that one's just for you, Louise, our biggest Collingwood fan.
That's for sure, and what a treat on a Friday. Thanks for that, Tom.
Good evening. Hobart, Launceston, Cressy and Friendly Beaches all on our top today of 17. That's around 4 above average for this time of year. Burnie 15 and Devonport 16 degrees. St Helens 16 as well. Grove 15, Low Head, Bushy Park and the Bass Strait Islands all 14 and Strahan 13. It wasn't all sunshine though. A few showers fell over the west and far south. Strathgordon 7 millimetres today from that cloud. More cloud extends over parts of South Australia and the southeastern states in the west to southwesterly airstream. High cloud over northern Queensland, and that's about it. Clear skies elsewhere. Tomorrow a front clips Tasmania as the rest of the country sits under high pressure. Plenty of fronts though queuing up off WA. The 20 to 30 knot westerly winds will shift south to southwesterly tomorrow before easing to 10 to 20 knots. Swell still pushing up towards 6 metres. Strong wind warning will continue for all Tasmanian coastal waters tomorrow. Hobart 12 degrees with showers easing, 9 the top for Medina, a shower or 2 for Oatlands and 9 the maximum. Launceston partly cloudy and 15, same for Devonport, showers easing from Lyowini 2 to 4. Burnie, a high of 14, possible morning shower clearing, same for Strawn with 12 the top and 13 for Marrawar. St Helens tomorrow, a high of 14 with a possible shower, a shower for Swansea and 13, 12 the high for Orford. On Sunday, widespread frost and areas of fog with a light shower over the north extending to parts of the west. Fine on Monday, apart from a niggly shower over the north again, and on Tuesday, partly cloudy over the east and southeast, showers for the north and west. A late shower in Perth tomorrow, a morning shower in Adelaide, a light shower over Melbourne. A frosty start in Canberra, 14 later in the day, sunny in Sydney and Brisbane. Cloud everywhere at the moment, 12 degrees in Hobart, 11 right now in Launceston and Devonport. Louise, that wraps up the week's weather. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you, I certainly will. You too, Peter Murphy. And before we leave you tonight, Riverside Primary School students became green thumbs for the morning. Grade 2 pupils worked together to plant dozens of new shrubs for their nature space.
I think we should plant them because it will attract heaps of cool animals. We could do research about them. So we can have oxygen to breathe and not die.
The kids have been really excited to come out and get their hands dirty and plant some trees in our nature space.
National Tree Day is usually held on August 1, but the school postponed the event due to last week's rain. And that's all your news for now. I'll be back later with updates. Thanks for joining us tonight. Tom Johnson will be behind the desk tomorrow night. Good night.